Jennifer Grossman.
I am so thrilled to be here with you guys. I just got introduced to this group a couple months ago by my friend Diana Davis Spencer, and I met Charlie, I met Crystal, and then I met a few more of you guys down in Miami at the Liberty Forum, and your energy, and I've worked with a lot of student groups over the years, and you guys are just off the charts. So I'm just thrilled to be partnering with you. The Atlas Society has been around for 25 years. It's a philosophy think tank that was started by David Kelly, and it's devoted to promoting the ideas of Ayn Rand. Essentially, it's Groundhog Day. Day after day, we have seen examples of how collectivism fails. The USSR collapsed. Cuba is in shambles. Berlin Wall has come down. China has been forced to liberalize their economy. North Korea, Venezuela. So this has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. So why is it that socialism seems to be on the rise again here in the United States? I would argue that it is the limits of the power of lessons, the limits of the power of example, the limits actually of the power of facts in terms of persuading people. I believe it's because people have a yearning for not just truth, but for morality, for philosophy, for our purpose, for justice. And unless we address why we believe that our system, that the free market is morally superior, not just that it works better, but that it's morally superior to the alternative, we're going to fail again and again. In politics, in presidential campaigns, we continue to focus on economic arguments. And if you look out in the ecosphere of think tanks, you've got CEI, you've got FEE, you've got AEI, you've got IEA, and everything that they have in common is that they're all focusing on enterprise, on economics, and yet we're still failing. So our contention and where we fit within this ecosphere is that it's not just the economy. The economy is an applied science, kind of like mathematics, but it's actually philosophy. And there's one woman, a brave refugee from communist Russia, who understood this, and she came forward with a revolutionary philosophy which addressed all of the different branches: metaphysics, epistemology. Metaphysics is what is the nature of reality. Epistemology is how do we know that? Ethics is morality. How do we treat each other? What is the difference between right and wrong? Politics is government. How do we relate in a society? What kind of laws do we need? And then aesthetics is beyond that. It is our sense of life. It's our sense of beauty. It's culture. So the founders got it right when it came to politics and government. And they understood that governments were instituted among men because they're here to protect our rights, because we have rights, whether we believe that they are natural rights or whether they are endowed by a creator. We believe that we have rights and that it is immoral for people to infringe upon those rights. And I believe that it is important to defend in a moral sense these rights, not just in a religious sense, because that works for a certain part of the population, but that we would contend that you also need to have a secular moral defense of capitalism and of the free market, because we live in a very diverse country. That's why we have laws that protect freedom of religion. And unless you can say that this is a moral argument that's grounded in the nature of man and in facts, you're not going to be able to reach everybody. What does Ayn Rand have to bring to this argument? I'm actually going to have you guys take a quick poll. This is about right, I would say, for this group, which is one of the major reasons that I am partnering with you, because what you guys are out there doing every single day on campus is that you are defending your beliefs, you are defending freedom, you are defending the Constitution, you are defending the right to free speech, you are defending your future. And in order to do that, you need to have all of the weapons that are available in your arsenal. And the facts are great, and the pamphlets are great. But again, as I've said, just saying that it doesn't work, and that it didn't work in Russia, and it didn't work in Cuba, and it's not going to work here, that is not going to work in terms of convincing these people. So what you also need to have in your back pocket is you have to have an understanding of the moral defense of freedom, and that's what Ayn Rand will give you. How do you communicate to people in this day and age? Okay, so when I came in and I said, I have to look at the facts on the ground. The facts on the ground is that 90% of people have not heard of her and don't know, read her books, and that even among groups like Students for Liberty and Turning Point USA and YOW, that there still is a huge percentage of people that have yet to have this, as I say, adventure. So how do we reach out to them? Where are people communicating? Not on Facebook. How many people here are on Instagram? Okay. And how many people on Facebook? Oh, okay, it's about equal. But and we are on both. But I have found that Instagram is particularly a platform that other liberty groups are not exploiting effectively. And it also skews heavily Hispanic, female, African American, and so to the extent that we want to expand and have a group that is more diverse in terms of how the American population is, we feel that will help us to be more effective communicators. We want it to be on Instagram. So art is another way. We have art contests. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, and then some of the videos that we're doing. Also, we are, as I said, partnering with groups like yourself. We are on campus, and thanks to Crystal and to Charlie and to Diane Davis Spencer, we're going to be doing 75 screenings of the 3 Atlas Shrugged movies. So if you are interested in helping to organize that on one of your campuses, then please let Crystal know. We have an online reading group. So if you are one of the people that would like to start reading Atlas Shrugged, our founder, David Kelly, every Sunday will help to walk you through that. The art contest, again, there are limits to lessons, but there's also limits to just text-based articles. There's plenty of white papers out there. In fact, I think the Liberty Movement has a bit of a white paper problem. If you are just going to be communicating to people through words, through articles, through lectures, then you are only going to be reaching the people that have the time, the inclination, and the ability to read, and that's the way their mind works. So art has been completely ignored by, I think, people that care a lot about liberty. And as a result, it's been defaulted to the left. And so the arts are pretty much defaulted and dominated by people who have a very different point of view. And that is just simply wrong, because artists are entrepreneurs. They are out there, they are creating, they are truly the John Galts, they are truly the Howard Rourkes. So we just finished the public submission phase of our first art contest. And I think we'll be announcing this coming week the 25 finalists, and everybody here will get a chance to be voting on them. And the first theme was the entrepreneur. The second one will be blueprints in blue sky about building, and then the third one will be the women of Atlas Shrugged and Ayn Rand. And there are cash prizes, so if anyone is interested, knows an artist, or likes to draw, or likes to take photographs, then we would love to have you participate. These are some of our judges: Michael Newberry, Agnieszka Pilat, Judd Weiss, and Sabin Howard, who is the official sculptor for the World War I Memorial in Washington, D.C. He sculpts in 8-foot-high monumental bronze. And it's also about, as I said, aesthetics, our perspective on what is beautiful, and the purpose of art is to uplift people, not to embarrass, not to shock, not to be vulgar, Yes, it can be provocative. I'm not talking about prudish art, but that really the purpose of art is to be recreating reality according to the artist's own values. And when you have an art that is totally degraded and is focused on the lowest common denominator, then it does affect our culture and it eventually affects our politics. So I just want to close with a quote that Ayn Rand, it's one of my favorite ones, about why you need philosophy. And she said, "As a human being, you have no choice about the fact that you need a philosophy. Your only choice is whether you define your philosophy by a conscious, rational, disciplined process of thought and scrupulously logical deliberation, or let your subconscious accumulate a junk heap of unwarranted conclusions, false generalizations, undefined contradictions, undigested slogans, unidentified wishes, doubts, and fears, thrown together by chance, but integrated by your subconscious into a kind of mongrel philosophy and fused into a single solid weight, self-doubt, like a ball and chain in the place where your mind's wings should have grown." And so having a philosophy, and particularly the philosophy that Ayn Rand helped to introduce to us, is important, not just in terms of the jobs and the mission that we all share in terms of defending liberty, but believe me, it will also come in handy in your own personal life, because life is going to throw you many curveballs. For me, my house burned down in one of the fires in Malibu in 2007. And I'll tell you, losing absolutely everything that you had except for, the handbag that you were out carrying is an experience that I would not want anybody to have to repeat. But what really helped me was having this philosophy and not slipping into denial and not slipping into wishful thinking and being rational and focusing on achievement. And also remembering that Ayn Rand also came here, not just to the United States, but to California with absolutely nothing. And she was able to overcome. It's an integrated philosophy, and I think that'll mean a lot for you, not just in terms of defending freedom, but in terms of defending your life and understanding and living up to the responsibility to make the most of it. Any questions?
So I'm a big fan of individualism, of free markets, and capitalism, but I find it difficult to hold up Ayn Rand as a model when there's a lot of her philosophies that I don't agree with. She was a big atheist, she was a big pro-choice person, and so, there's a lot of great individualist philosophers out there, and I find it difficult to use Ayn Rand when she has a lot of philosophies that I really, really don't agree with.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you asked that question, and in a couple weeks I actually have an op-ed that's coming out in the Wall Street Journal which addresses that very same question. And the title is, "Can You Love God and Ayn Rand?" And there's a lot of debate within the objectivist movement, and purists will say no, but I have come across quite a few people, including some of the types of characters that she celebrated in her novel, who don't find a contradiction for themselves. One example is Andy Puzder. He's a CEO of CKE Foods, CEO of Hardee's, CEO of Carl's Jr., and he's a practicing Roman Catholic. And he has 6 kids, and he made every single one of his kids read Atlas Shrugged and Mere Christianity in order to get their driver's license. And so, to him, it doesn't really matter. So what if she was gay? It just, for him, there was enough there that he felt was useful, that he didn't have to agree with everything that she thought. But for me, my fundamental view on that is that the atheism has been completely blown out of proportion to the main relevance of her work. I challenge you to read, as I have, all of her fiction, cover to cover. Atlas Shrugged, We the Living, The Fountainhead, Anthem, my personal favorite, Red Pawn, and then take a quiz and say, you know, what if this was the worst thing, if this was so important to her, why are there no religious villains, as there are in every single movie that we watch, right? As they are in every single television show. Why are there no corrupt priests? Why are there no kind of evil money-grubbing money changers or whatever? They're not there, and I would say that it is because while she herself was an atheist, it was not the main pillar of her message and her canon. And I think it is a terrible shame. It may not be the one that resonates with everybody, but I think that if we were to lose her because we didn't agree with certain aspects of her, that we will be the ones that will lose, because we will lose a major canon. And so why has it been blown out of proportion? I really truly believe this. She is an activator for so many people. If you will go and ask people, well, how did you get involved in the liberty movement? Why are you at Cato? Why are you here? What made you turn into a Republican or whatever? It usually starts with Ayn Rand. So she was a real activator for a lot of people to get turned on because of the way that she dramatized these ideas. And the left knew that. The left knew that. And so that they, I believe, knew that they needed to marginalize her, they needed to take her down, and what was the best way? Concentrate your fire on this spot in her hull. Concentrate her fire on her secularism, especially as it faces out towards a God-fearing America, because we got to take that woman down. And to a certain extent, it's worked. I think it's going to be less and less effective as America becomes increasingly secular, but I would say to you and anybody else who say, I don't want Ayn Rand because she's an atheist, I'd say, don't fall for it. Don't fall for the trap that the left wants you to step into. So if you are religious or not, you're secular, you're not, you're confused like me. My dad was Jewish, my mom's Catholic, I don't know, I was raised in a state of confusion. Regardless, I think that you'll find a lot that will help you in your personal life by reading these books. But it was a very good question.
One's really quick though. Is the Ayn Rand novels like linear? Are they connected? Are they independent stories? And two, do you have any other authors in a similar vein to her that you recommend?
They are not linear, but so they're not like, Lord of the Rings or something like that. But We the Living was one that she wrote very early on. As a woman, it's particularly appealing. It's a little bit tragic. It's the most sort of autobiographical. It's about really the story of being dispossessed in Russia and finding her way. And then The Fountainhead is also very accessible because it doesn't have an explicitly political message. If you want to go straight to it, then I'd say get to Atlas Shrugged. At some point, even if you end up not liking it, for you to be politically literate, you need to read the books. You do. But then again, Anthem, to me, is one that I did super short, and also all the stuff is on audio. So, and then in addition, that at the Atlas Society, we have a lot of literature which is complementary to that. For example, our founder, David Kelly, wrote a seminal book called Unrugged Individualism, because we're not purists. There are other versions of interpreting Ayn Rand, and we are more of an open approach where you can have different points of views and you don't have to agree with everything. But in terms of other authors, I'd say, well, I love Randy Wallace, my neighbor, but his works tend to be more in a kind of a religious theme. And then Heinlein. God, read Heinlein, Robert Heinlein, science fiction. Yes. And Orwell, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so I love Ayn Rand. We talked outside here
Yeah.
a moment ago. I think that her response was against the Kantian philosophy that plagues this country. And I think a lot of people still hold to Kantian philosophy and they don't even realize it. So I think that's why the left really attacks that the most. But my question is more philosophical, perhaps you can answer it, is by virtue of what are values established?
Mm-hmm.
By what virtue are values established? So outside of reason, that would seem subjective. I know that Ayn Rand objected subjectivity, also intrinsic philosophies. However, it seems like for me to hold a value in another person's life seems sort of still somewhat subjective to me. It seems like it still can be looked at as being subjective, not objective, which her philosophy was.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good question.
Okay.
And I think that the overlaps or the Venn diagram is that she did understand that people have very different tastes. Sometimes when she got a little older, she could be cranky and she could say that, we all needed to smoke and we all needed to, like cats and not dogs or something like that. But essentially the natural law reasons why politically we had to have this philosophy was because people are different, and you need to have a voluntary society because not everybody is going to like the same thing. We're not going to all want to drive the same cars. In terms of our values to other people, we choose who we value in terms of our values. So if we are conscious about it, then we admire industriousness, we admire loyalty, we admire achievement, we admire people who are good at sports or what have you. And it's not always completely conscious. She did understand that there was a subconscious integration of our values. So
I think that was, you demonstrated that through the aesthetic understanding of her perspective of art. And I think in some ways her Aristotelian philosophy, I see it as similar to Plato in some ways. But
really?
yeah, I mean with the subjective mind, there are some similarities, but you can see distinct differences. Well, we can talk later.
Okay. I think I've identified one of our new scholars, and that is a priority of mine, by the way. Having the Atlas Society hadn't been around for 25 years, my only been around it for 6 months. But if you do have professors that you feel would be open to this philosophy, or if you are interested in the study of philosophy, we need the next generation of Ayn Rands, and Dagny Taggarts, and Dominiques, and Kira's. Any other questions? Yeah.
So the liberty movement kind of has such a big tent, and it has conservatives on the more modern end with libertarians and even anarchists on the far end of it. What role do you think that, you were mentioning people like Jeffrey Tucker, who's an anarcho-capitalist. What role do you think that Randianism and objectivism can play in really kind of bringing those together, if any, or is objectivism something that can be had by people on the farthest reaches of the liberty movement in either direction?
Good question, and just mentioning Jeffrey in particular, who is an old friend of mine, and has read Rand thoroughly, and would I think probably agree with 90% of what she has to say. In fact, one of the things that he and I are going to be doing is a virtual speakers bureau of, I sometimes, as you could see, I could do a not so great accent of Ayn Rand, but I do have a wonderful makeup artist who helps to make me up as Ayn Rand, complete with the teeth gap and the brown contacts and the wig and You know, it's wonderful. I don't have to worry about wrinkles and all of that. So at this coming Freedom Fest, last Freedom Fest, I did dress up as Ayn Rand, and it was great because none of my friends recognized me. But next one, Mark Skousen, who's the founder of Freedom Fest, will be he loves to dress up as Ben Franklin. So he'll be doing Ben Franklin, I'll be doing Ayn Rand. And Jeffrey and I are going to be for Students for Liberty doing kind of debates, questionnaires. He's going to be the interviewer, and I'm going to be Ayn Rand. So I don't necessarily think that this is something which will appeal across the entire spectrum, but I do think that it's a necessary part of how we're going to make the case for liberty and individual rights. And I do think it's really important that each of us read it. And I also would say, don't abandon the one who brought you to the dance, okay? And Ayn Rand, you know, did bring many people to the dance, and she will bring a lot of other people to the dance. And I think she's been misunderstood, and she's been mischaracterized. And she was a woman ahead of her time. She came to the United States 5 years after women got the right to vote, okay? And she was a tireless defender of individual rights and the right to live your life according to your own values. So to me, that is a unifying principle, but it is definitely one part of it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's the overarching. Not yet. Invite me back in 5 years and we'll see where we are there.
All right, it's gonna be pretty funny, but my cousin named both of her kids, she has a boy and a girl, pretty little thing. She named her girl Dagny, and I'm pretty sure you know what the guy, and the boy's name was Taggart. We just call him Tag.
Uh-huh.
But the main question for me is, oh my God, the question for me is, I like one of the leading people when it comes to knowing Miss Miranda. Do you think she would have supported the concept of free agency, where basically people have the right to choose what they want? They just have to choose what they want, but they have to live with the consequences and all that stuff about that.
Yeah, she had another one of my quicker favorite quotes was, you can avoid reality, but you can't avoid the consequences of reality. So that, you know, you can pretend that you have enough money in the bank, you know, you can get blotto and pretend that, you know, things aren't going great in your life, but the consequences cannot be avoided. But she definitely, I mean, I'll give you an example, is that she was also a woman of her time, and there were some kind of funny things about that time. So, for example, she defended the right of gays to associate in whatever way that they wanted to, you know, do whatever they wanted to behind closed doors, but she did not approve of them. She thought that there was something wrong with them. It was a mental illness. So now, would she have thought that way now that, 60 years later? But the point that I'm making is that even something that she personally disapproved of, she would fight to the end for somebody's ability to live their life according to their own values. But I would love to connect with you, because I've got to write an article about all of the people that I know that have named their kids Dagny. I don't know if you guys know, a dear friend of mine named Whitfield Ladies of Liberty. She just had a baby. She named her girl Dagny, and then I don't know if any of you know Ovens O'Brien. Yeah. Okay, so her brother is named Ragnar, and that's a rough one. So Ragnar was the pilot, the pirate in Atlas Shrugged. So, and then let's see, Matt and Terry Kibbe named their cats after I think Dagny and Hank or whatever. So there's more of us out there than you might realize. I think we have time just for like another question or two. But yeah.
Do you think people like Bernie Sanders and his supporters, do you think like maybe they just haven't discovered this literature, or maybe like do you think he's read the book? Like what kind of response have you gotten from people who are like all the way on the left when they come across this type of work?
That is a really fantastic question. I have been surprised, okay, because since for me, it was an activator, a gateway drug to learning more about Hayek and Milton Friedman and this and that. It was my portal. So I kind of thought that, gee, most Republicans will be Ayn Rand people and Democrats won't be. But the big surprise has been that I found a lot of friends, who are on the left, but they got something out of the books. They loved the books. I find that I actually have not found anybody who really has read the books and say that they disagree with her or don't like it. I mean, maybe there's like 1 out of 100. But some people have a hard time getting through them, but that's a whole other issue, But I would say that most of the people who've actually read them, but what you will find, and I really would love for each of you to please go on our Facebook page, look at the video, share the video. If you share the video and you sign up for the rest of our social media, then we're going to enter you to one of several very snazzy prizes, including my own favorite, my Ayn Rand yoga mat, which makes quite a few waves in Malibu. Or you could have my Gadsden flag yoga mat. But look at the comment stream and the hatred and the intolerance that you will find because of what people have been told, and because I think the left wanted to marginalize her. So there's a ton of people out there who hate her, who just think that she's, and they say the opposite of actually what she said. They say, oh, she's a racist. Like, would you read her quotes and what she said about racism being the crudest, most vulgar, mongrel form of collectivism? Oh, she died in public housing. What? She died a wealthy woman. So that's why I really, once you've read the books, I would really, really welcome you to join this fight with me. Since I've come on board, I've pretty radically changed a few things. I've reorganized and I've shifted our demographic and our focus to you. So I need your help. I need your brothers and sisters and friends in school. And Xavier's going to be here all day along with Nicole. So I would like you guys to please connect with us. And to the extent that you are in Southern California, I'm up in Malibu, so maybe we can meet up there and do another event up there. So thank you very much.